what happened. Mr. Bernanke came out, the markets all went crazy, and I think everybody overreacted. Let's talk about what Mr. Bernanke really said. What he said is, look guys, you know that I've been talking about the fact that we were going to start to taper this third economic easing that I'm doing, which means that he's going to start to basically buy less mortgage-backed securities. He's been buying $85 billion a month. He probably will maybe 1 month buy 45, maybe he'll buy 60. He kept the flexibility over and up and said he could basically move that number depending upon how the economy was doing. But he definitely said, I'm not putting on the brakes, I'm just easing my foot on the pedal. And of course that didn't make anybody happy, you know that. Because the people that wanted him to stop and put the brakes on weren't happy. The people that didn't want him to basically take his foot off the paddle wasn't happy. And so what did we see happen? The stock market went down 200 points. It was down over 100 points this morning. And the biggest thing that happened was the 10-year note. Now let's go back, because the 10-year note about 6 months ago was 1.3%. We were this morning up to 2.4%. I think it's all overdone. Everybody panicked. It's going to mellow back a little bit at the end of the day. The stock market, let's talk about that. Do you realize in 2009 the Dow was at 7,000? We are now at 14,009. It'll get past 15,000 again. I think by the end of the year, you're going to have a very, very positive year. The Dow is up 156% from its low. It's up this year over 40% on NASDAQ and 40% on the Dow. So this is just everybody spooking, everybody overreacting, no matter what he said. I don't think there was one thing he could have said or could have said it differently and done the market any better than it already did. Now, how do I know that? Because let's just look at home sales that just came in today. They're at 5.1 million. It's the first time we've been over 5 million since we've been in this downturn. The average price of a home nationally today is $208,000, which is up 15.4% from 1 year ago. Inventory is at 2.2 million. That's still down 3.3%, getting closer to where we were. And days to sell on the market nationally, 39 days versus 78 1 year ago. How can that be bad news? That has to be good news for the nation. And then when you look at the stock market, we talked about that. Rates obviously have gone up. And here's what I think now is going to happen. I think GDP is going to be about 2.5% this year. That's sort of where we were last year. It's not where we need to be if we were really out of this recession completely, but different parts of the country are going to move differently. Now see, 2.5% looks pretty good when you look at Germany and you look at basically all the European nations. And China came out today and did not have a good number with all of their exports. They were at 11% growth. They're now down to 7%. You have the BRIC countries, which are Brazil, Russia, India, and China. They're fighting inflation. So when you look at the rest of the world, if you remember a year and a half ago, everybody kept saying America was through. Remember that? That America had lost her cool, that basically we should have a basket of currency, the dollar crappy, going down 35%. Who in the hell wanted it? Get your money in euros, do something else. Well, what they found out is we got a cold, but they all got pneumonia, and they deserved it, so that was a good thing at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, look, the dollar's up 30%, America is positive, we should be at 4 or 5%, but at least we're at 2.5%. They're all struggling over there, and we're coming around, and we're coming out of this. It's a slow process. Now let me talk a little bit about the San Francisco Bay Area, because we do need to move to a totally different drummer, all right? If you look at the wealth of all U.S. households and everything that we have in the way of assets, during the recession we went down to $58 trillion. Now the wealth this year is back up to $70.4 trillion, so you know we're feeling better. Now where is it feeling especially better? San Francisco Bay Area. San Francisco has 5.4% unemployment, lower than that even is San Mateo County and Marin. You over here were way up there in the double digits, you know that. You're down to single digits now. Let me talk to you about what's going to happen between now and 2040. Between now and 2040, 1.1 million jobs will be created in this area of the 9 counties of the San Francisco Bay Area. And with that will be a population of 2.1 million that are going to come into this area. So when we look at the San Francisco Bay Area, we're moving to a different drummer than the rest of the nation. Now, why is that? International city, gateway to the Pacific Rim. We have 2 wonderful institutions of learning called Stanford and Cal. You basically know that we have a diversity of culture, diversity of employment. We basically are an international place. We're going to have the World Cup. We have the Giants. We have the 49ers. We have the Warriors now. We have all kinds of living. Everybody says, oh, it's too expensive here. Well, if you can't afford to live in San Francisco, you can come over to the East Bay and you can live over here and get warmer weather and all these beautiful homes that you have here. So we have a diversity of where people can live so that everybody can afford something. So at the end of the day, the San Francisco Bay Area has one thing that's very unique, and this is what makes us basically basically such a good pocket now economically. It's called Silicon Valley. And Silicon Valley is reinventing itself. If you know what Apple's building there on 136 acres, the big spaceship, which is going to be a self-contained city, do you know that they employ 40% of all the people that are employed in Cupertino? They pay $36 million in fees and taxes every year, and the average salary of a person now in Silicon Valley is $125,000. So you know that basically they're going to start to redo Silicon Valley because it's 50 years old. It looks like old office buildings. Those young people don't like working in those. So you're going to have the Apple spaceship. Intel's building pyramids that are going to all be tri-colored, purple, yellow, green. They're going to flicker and they're going to basically do this, that, whatever. Facebook is building something in the old Sun Microsystem space that looks like a jungle gym out of a park. And all these young kids are up and down the buses coming across to the East Bay, going to San Francisco. And you know one thing about it is they want to live a different kind of life. So you know that we are basically moving. Now how do we know that? Let's also look at commercial. Commercial has been absolutely wonderful. Everybody said, oh, it was going to go in the toilet like residential. In San Francisco, just in the last year, we had 1.8 billion square feet of space that was basically rented around our areas. Just this last quarter, 80,850 square feet. Do you know that basically rents in San Francisco now are up 36% from where they were 1 year ago, and the average rent there now is averaging about $55 a square foot. In Silicon Valley, up 8% in the rental market, and they're at about $37.68 a month. Employment through March, and this is a very important number. In Silicon Valley, 28,000 new employees just in the first quarter of this year, 33,000 in San Francisco. You have wonderful positive numbers occurring over here too. Let me talk a little bit about the real estate market, just give you some statistics. Do you know that basically we have the hottest market in the nation? If you don't know that, you should feel it at least. Do you know that we hit a low point in March of 2009 when the median price was basically $375,000? The height of the market was in the summer of 2007 when we were at $665,000. Do you know where you are as of May? As of May, we're at $510,000. Now, but basically in February and March, we were down 6% in inventory, but this month we're only down 0.6%. But here's some important thing. Foreclosures, if you remember, especially in the East Bay, you guys were up to 50, 60, some places 75%, right? They're now down on average between 8.5% to about 15 or 20%. Short sales now are down to 15%. The highest they ever got was 27%. But here's the biggest key, and I think this is wonderful. Days on the market in the San Francisco Bay Area are basically between 14 and 30 days, and you just heard the rest of the nation is coming in at 38 to 50 days. Now, let's talk a little bit about absentee buyers, because that's a wonderful thing that's driving this market. When I look at Alameda County, you guys have to understand, absentee buyers are investors that are buying property or international investors that are coming in. In Alameda County, you had 21% of your market last year was absolutely absentee buyers, and their average price was $240,000. In Contra Costa County, it was 27% were absentee buyers over here, investors buying foreclosures and short sales, and their average price at the time was $190,000. So at the end of the day, this is a hot real estate market, and now I want to talk a little bit about where we are now. I gave you something that talks about Alameda County, and it talks about basically what you have in Alameda. And it's going to talk about average list price, medium list price, average days on the market. Single family under $1 million now, do you know where you are? You're between $499 and $526. And basically over $1 million, you're at $1.5 million to $1.9 million. Condos and townhomes under $600,000 are from $349 to $360. Over $600,000, $699,000 from $740 to $749. Can you believe that? If you think of the numbers you had before. And in Contra Costa, single family under $1 million is ranging before $426 to $488. Over $1 million, $1.7 million to $2.1 million. You never even heard those numbers 18 months ago. Condos and townhouses under $600,000 are $264 to $287, and over $600,000 they're ranging from $695 to $772. So the numbers have come back substantially, and you have what I call a powerful real estate market. Now, they called me from the New York Times the other day, and somebody said to me, well, what's the real estate market like in the San Francisco Bay Area? Because we all hear out here that you're bubbling again. And I hate that term bubbling, because let me try to explain what a bubbling market is, because we did have that. A bubbling market is when you take an asset like real estate and you artificially, and that's the key word, increase its value so that it looks more valuable to people, and everybody was running out there to get it. All of the lenders, you know what they did because the government pushed them. Let's get home ownership going. We went from 56 all the way up to almost 70%. We went from 5 million almost to 7 million homes, and anybody could have gotten a house. A dog could have bought a house because nobody was looking, and who cares? Appraisal came in the way you wanted it. Who cared what name was on it? Was it a rental? Were you living there? Whose name was on it? Who cared? Anybody could have gotten it. That's a bubbling market because it's artificial. Oh, and by the way, why would these people have to put any money down? Because God forbid you should have to put some skin in the game, and they all thought they bought a house. No, they didn't. The Bank of America, Bank of West, Citibank, all you people here from the bank, you own the houses, but you didn't bother to tell those people. See, what you should have said on the loan is, this is not a gift, it's a loan. That means you have to pay it back. Now look, you stupid person, you're going to have to sign this thick paper because guess what? If you could have afforded cash, you wouldn't need a loan. Now you need a loan, and we own your house. You're just renting it because then guess what else it says? Fine print, page 87. The loan's going up after you live here for 3 years, and guess what? It's going up a lot. But they didn't bother to read any of that because everybody was basically on dope, having a good time, just buying everything. They thought they would become the Donald Trump of real estate. So what do you think happened? It all blew up. Gee, was that an amazing thing? Should we not have expected that? They didn't put any money in the game, so guess what they said to the bank? You own the damn property anyway, and guess what? Goodbye, now you can have it back. And we had millions and millions of foreclosures. The market went to hell, the mortgage market went to hell, and we've been trying to get out of that ever since. Well, we're getting close and we're getting out of it. Now, let me talk about something else that basically happened during that period of time. We went from this terrible market, and now you have what I call a powerful market. That's different than a bubbling market. Let me tell you why. You have different buyers now. Because first of all, the kinds of buyers that you have are not your traditional buyers anymore. You have AAA buyers who either have to be able to get a loan and qualify, and you know what the underwriting is like. You're going to put money in the game. You're going to have a decent FICO score. You're going to have good credit. Or guess what? Bank of America, Bank of the West, Citibank, Wells Fargo, all of you that are here, if I forgot somebody, I apologize. You know that you're going to say no to those people. And do you know that cash, basically in the San Francisco Bay Area, was at 36% over the last quarter, and I believe that number will go up this year. So you have AAA buyers, that's number one. Number two is you basically have no inventory, which means that that's one of the biggest challenges that you have. And the biggest challenge for sellers isn't that some of them won't want to sell their house, it's where will they go when they sell their house. So you need to be creative, guys. One of the things you might say to somebody is, look, I have a condominium. If somebody today offered me $1.2 million for my condominium, I could move out by 4 o'clock this afternoon. They could have my kids and everything that's in the damn. Because you know what? I would go rent a condominium for a year, wait till the market cools down, and then I would go in and buy a house. You give me enough money, and guess what? I could move real fast. Maybe one of the things they want to do is they could sell their property. They can't do a 1031 exchange, but they could go buy a duplex and start to get that commercial property that they've always wanted to be invested in. So you guys have to try to get to be a little bit creative when the first thing they're going to say to you is, well, I would sell my house, but where can I go? There's a lot of places you can go. We can rent for a while, wait for the market to calm back down, and then we can get in on the other side. Because right now you have a market that's basically multiple offer, very active, and very, very powerful out there. Now let me talk a little bit about how I think you need to talk to buyers. See, buyers are interesting people, and I think the problem we're making is we had a multi-offer market back in basically 2000, basically 2 to basically 2007, and everybody's trying to work the market the same way, and I don't think you can, and here's why. Because it's a different market with different buyers. And so I think what you have to do is have what I call a pre-education seminar with these people, and let me tell you what I think is important. First of all, and the first thing you have to talk about is affordability. Because if you have somebody who has, let's say, $800,000 in cash, they think they're loaded and they think they're